Well, week one is in the books for the Any Given Monday League. And just like the NFL, it wasn't without its fair share of surprises and close games. As a matter of fact, 3 close games this week, 2 not so close games, and 1 absolute scorcher. Almost 260 points on the day. But first we go to our leadoff, the Turd Herders and Despicable Eagles. This game was pretty fair, I have to say. There wasn't a lot of really good performances out of a lot of the people that we would expect. Michael Vick bringing in 25.15 points, and Josh Freeman on the other end bringing in 17.15. Lots of teens, lots of single digits. A pretty fair game, but close and down to the wire. Only came down to but a single play in the very late fourth quarter there by Brandon Lloyd in the Oakland game to set that one straight. I can tell you personally that it was a heartbreaker. Moving on. We're moving on to the Boston Brewskis and Swoop Stinkston. What the heck happened here? 260 points? Does that even happen in football? Well, at least it does in fantasy football. This one looked like it was a wrap-up for Swoop Stinkston, the favorite in the Any Given Monday League, with 121.15 points. Is that even legal? Great contributions came from backup Kevin Kolb, as Peyton Manning has been hurt and is likely out for the season. Breakout performances from Kenny Britt. What was he smoking today? 11.6 points from Felix Jones, and a couple other dozen or so point performances from the rest of the team, and a big showing from that Bears defense, crushing Atlanta in week one. But not to be outdone, the Boston Brewskis brought Boston to the game, and we had a strange appearance from animals. But the Boston Brewskis would not be outdone with huge performances out of Phillip Rivers, Gronkowski, Gostkowski, Jones-Drew, Wes Welker. What? 139.65 points, and this guy's never played before? Come on. I'm going to chalk this one up to beginner's luck and a pretty decent football team. And then for one of the disappointing stories, Mizo's Runners comes in as the number 1 scorer this week. And I have never seen a score so high, and hopefully we'll never see one again. At 166.25 points, completely blowing out the Drunken Monkeys. Embarrassing them, as a matter of fact, with huge performances from Tom Brady, who set a record, I think, in his game. Steve Smith, who knew that one? Matt Forte. Think about that one last year. The Eagles defense, of course, was going to give us some points, and then everybody else showed up for the game except for Dallas Clark. On the other end of things, though, the Drunken Monkeys had to rely on Tony Romo, which, of course, as any Dallas fan would tell you, is not a safe bet. With only 22 points on the game, Chris Johnson, who was crushed by Jacksonville's defense, Beanie Wells, Hakeem Nicks, and Dez Bryant did show up for a little bit, but Nate Keating unfortunately suffered an injury and will be out for the season. Look like Drunken Monkeys is going to be looking for a new kicker on there. Big donut on there. Mizo's Runners with a near-perfect coaching rating of 99%, 166.25 points on the game. Did I mention that? That's ridiculous. Moving on, we have the Red Ball Express and Sweater Puppets. Red Ball Express got off the boat early with a huge performance from Drew Brees, looking to already put Sweater Puppets in the hole, and unfortunately that was a hole that Sweater Puppets could not dig itself out of, just couldn't get it together this week. Ray Rice, their only big contributor there with 26.9 points. Everybody else is pretty much in the single digits except for Matt Schaub. I know the pain of Matt Schaub, their Sweater Puppets. Let me tell you, he's very disappointing. 11 points on the day. On the other end of the ball, like we said, Drew Brees at 36.25 points. Calvin Johnson, at 20.8 points. Megatron in effect. A couple single-digit performances, and the Ravens showing up to beat those Pittsburgh Steelers and really brought in the defense, leading into a 2-time victory. And there's the cat again. Newcomer to the league, Dem Eagles, has beaten Steadfast, last year's Super Bowl champion, by a mere 7 points in yet another close game. This one also came down to the wire where steadfast hopes were placed in Darren McFadden. And steadfast, I'm sure you know that Darren McFadden was not going to pull off a miracle, but did get you awful close with 16.6 points. But Aaron Rodgers, of course, 30.6 points in that early show against New Orleans Saints on Thursday night, that scorcher of a game. The Falcons' defense somehow managed to get 20 points, even though it didn't look like they were on the field that day. Lots of other single-digit performances out of people who I don't actually really know. But anyway, going over to Dem Eagles, Mark Sanchez pulled it out there with 335 yards and 2 touchdowns for 23.05 points. LaShawn McCoy, of course, Shady bringing in 27.7 points in a big game against St. Louis. A couple other double-digit performances leading to a squeaker there over the Super Bowl champs. Looks like Steadfast is going to have to get it together in yet another close game. 3 points separating a win and a loss on this one. Stepdads checked out early, taking all of their teammates on the first quarter with 78.15 points. Then just let it sit for the rest of the day as the Juice Monkey crawled and crawled and crawled and just about made it, but not quite. Matt Ryan, the big contributor there for Stepdads, at 14.95 points. Andre Johnson with 15.5, and Javid Best actually showing up for Detroit this time at 11.4 points. Ben Roethlisberger not getting it together. Jamal Charles very dead against the Buffalo Bills, but still leading to double-digit performances there with Anquan Bolden, who had a great game against Baltimore with 74 yards and a touchdown. Janikowski, 63-yard field goal. Thought it was going to take him over the edge, but just didn't make it because the Patriots defense, well, no defense really played in that game. Can't blame them. We're going to have a lot of division action coming up here for next week, where Despicable Eagles will go to Sweater Puppets in a big rematch from last year. Sweater Puppets, I believe, took both those games last year, but it's not going to happen again there, Sweater Puppets. Drunken Monkeys there at Stepdads. Mizos Runners with the Juice Monkey. Dem Eagles going to take on the Boston Brewskis. Steadfast against Swoop Stinkston, Turd Herders, and the Red Ball Express. For next week's predictions, we're going to turn to the Lord Vader report. Lord Vader? Swoop Stinkston is a lock for this week. Well, thanks for that one, Lord Vader. Well, we'll see you next week. Remember to watch the waiver wire, and have a great day watching football.